All right, for the next part of notes, we're going to look at some other divisibility tests. So these notes will be titled Divisibility Part 2. Divisibility Tests Part 2. So make sure you put today's date. All right, so just a quick reminder, remember divisible means can be divided. And you won't have a decimal or a remainder when you're dividing. So we've already talked about the rules for 2, 3, and 4. There's two more numbers that we're going to focus on. We're going to look at being divisible by 5, and then being divisible by 10. So for 5 is actually one of the easier ones, or one of the ones that there's not as much to look at with the rule. For 5, when you're looking to see if a number is divisible by 5, look at the ones place again. So you look at the ones place in a number. If that digit is a 0 or a 5, you can divide by 5. So let's consider 25. You can do 25 divided by 5, which is 5. So again, you just want to look at that ones place value. If that's a 5 or a 0, the number can be divided by 5. So for our example, which are divisible by 5? So we've got 10, 20, 23, 625. So we want to look at the ones place value in each number. If that number is a 0 or a 5, you can divide that by 5. So A is divisible by 5, you can do 10 divided by 5. B is divisible by 5, you can do 20 divided by 5. C would not work, that ends in a 3, so you can't divide 23 and 5. And then D, that ends in a 5, 625, can be divided by 5. So when you're looking for if something is divisible by 5, you look at the ones place value. If that digit is a 0 or 5, you can divide by 5. All right, the next rule we'll look at is divisible by 10. So how can you tell if a number can be divided by 10? And this again, you look at the ones place value. If that's 0, the number can be divided by 10. So any number that ends in 0 can be divided by 10. So consider 100. 100 ends in 0. So we can do 100 divided by 10, which is 10. So our example, which numbers can be divided by 10? So remember, we're just looking at the ones place value. So the ones place value in each number. And then in that place value is the number 0. So for letter A, that would not work because that's not a 0. Letter B does work. C is would not work, and D would not work. Those numbers are not divisible by 10 because they do not end in 0. So an easy way to test if something can be divided by 10 is look if the number ends in 0. All right, just a last piece to realize or recognize. Numbers can be divisible by more than one number. So for example, 20 is divisible by 2, 4, 5, and 10. Because 20 is an even number, so we can divide it by 2. 20 is a multiple of 4, so we can divide it by 4. It ends in 0, so that means it's divisible by both 5 and 10. So when you're looking at divisibility, there are sometimes there are more than one number where that can be divisible. That number can be divisible by. All right, so now you can finish the rest of the divisibility worksheet, and now you should be looking at the rules for 5 and 10.